All right, hello everyone. So today I'm going to take a break off my usual movie and TV content to talk about some juicy pop culture stuff. That is the Bobbi Althoff situation.
This Bobbi Althoff situation, excuse my language, is completely fucked.
So what Drake did was the ultimate career navigating move. This is what happens when you have either narcissistic or psychopathic leaders in corporate America.
She broke to Instagram and said, I did not want to do this podcast in the first place, and now so much negativity is coming from it.
All right, so for those who don't know anything about the Bobbi Althoff situation, I'm going to give a quick rundown of who she is, also talk about the controversy, talk about my thoughts, talk about some speculation, because there are just so many different angles, different layers. I just haven't come across such an interesting scandal in a while where I'm actually like, I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what to think. Every single idea that has been presented to me, I find interesting. So without further ado, that's as long-winded as the intro is going to be. We're going to get right into it. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe. Let's go. All right, so Bobbi Althoff essentially has blown up in like a month or two. 2 months ago, she was sort of a nobody, and now she's everywhere.
This is how Bobbi Althoff got Drake on her podcast for $600. Bobbi started out as a TikTok mom influencer in 2021, but recently, with the help of some viral guests, her uniquely awkward interview style on the Really Good Podcast has absolutely blown up. And she only started 2 months ago. In an interview with Cosmopolitan, Bobbi revealed, when I started my podcast in April, I wanted to do interviews with celebrities, but I didn't know how I was gonna get there.
My initial introduction to Bobbi Althoff was her talking to Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, one of the main sharks, about how she basically put herself in credit card debt to essentially fund a podcast with no basis to do so, and him talking about whether that was a good idea or not, and they're having this weirdly good banter about that situation.
The only money I make is from YouTube.
Really?
And TikTok.
Oh, and that's always a pain because you never know what they're going to give you. And you still owe your $20,000.
Can you give me some money?
I don't know that I'd invest in a podcast, just to be honest.
Just money, though.
Oh, just give you money?
Like $20,000.
No.
And I was like, oh, what a weird idea. Like some complete nobody is interviewing these high status people. How did that come about? And then I just carried on with my day. I didn't really see too much more of her after that. I saw one clip of her interviewing Lil Yachty where she made him uncomfortable. My whole initial impression was that she was doing the Nathan For You sort of style of comedy where you don't know what the real Bobbi is and you don't know what the caricature Bobbi is. And they start to blur. And as a result, the media they produce and their real life shenanigans blur. You don't know what to take seriously. Nathan Fielder was very famous for sort of blurring the lines of reality TV as well as interview TV in general to a point where you weren't sure whether he was in on the joke, whether he knew how awkward he was. And I thought that was what she was doing.
In reality, I'm actually very fun, relaxed, and easygoing. Now, obviously I could just be saying that to you. So tonight, I'm going to prove it. How? By spending the entire day with a complete stranger and measuring his dopamine levels during our hangout, comparing them against a baseline to prove scientifically that he did have fun hanging out with me.
And this Drake controversy has happened and it's everywhere. All of a sudden, just last night I was going through TikTok as just every single video was talking about what's going on with this Bobbi Althoff situation. So I went back and I learned, and I'm going to share my findings with you. Bobbi Althoff seemed to have got her start on TikTok making viral content about basically being a young mom and sort of cringe humor content based around that concept.
I don't care what anyone says. There is nothing more embarrassing than walking around with one of these. Everyone knows how it got there. They know what you did. Your gardener, your mailman, your dad, your grandpa, your uncles, your brothers, your trash truck driver, the cashier at the grocery store. They all know it.
So it seems to me she basically went, okay, I want to interview famous people. My dream is to be a podcast host, which she said to Mark Cuban. And she just went, fuck it, I've got an audience. I'm going to be transparent with them and they're going to help me. And then her plan from there was to essentially reach out to her Instagram following and be like, hey, if anyone knows any connections to this person, that person, or this person, I'll give you $200, $300 if it works out.
It was really hard for me to get guests, so I made a video on TikTok saying that I would give $300 to any person that connected me with a celebrity for the podcast. Comedian Rick Glassman ended up being her first guest because a girl tagged him on the video, so Bobbi sent her $300 and did the episode.
And then from there, like, people were incentivized to basically say, hey, I know how to get a hold of this person. I know how to get a hold of this person. And so by some miracle, she started getting a few minor and major celebrities to essentially agree to come and interview her. And so then the interviews finally came out, and what you saw was she wasn't really trying to be the next great Joe Rogan podcast host. She was trying to create cringe comedy. A lot of these interviews came out, and it seemed like the appeal was the fact that she was an ordinary girl that doesn't do research and is almost spitting in the face of these famous people. And that's part of the humor.
But the second I finally start to take off, who calls me? You.
Question.
Yeah.
Did I call you or did you call me?
I called you for help. I didn't call you to come on your podcast.
And did I help you? Did I help you?
Sort of.
It feels like what she's doing is a form of performance art, right? It's her navigating a world that she really doesn't belong in. And it's sort of like an interesting thing to watch to see which celebrities are going to laugh and be on board and which ones are sort of going to be uncomfortable and push back on her. It's what makes the Mark Cuban one so endearing to watch, because he seems completely on board and like, you know what, if you want to do this, cool. Whereas the Little Yachty one is a bit uncomfortable because he seems genuinely perplexed, uncomfortable, and almost insulted by what she's doing. Now, then it hit a point where she interviewed Drake. I just want to paint a picture here. This is a relatively successful TikTok person who no one really knew by name. Now she's used that minor clout she had as a TikTok star to essentially score an interview with the most red tape, pretty much most famous pop star we have right now, Drake.
Am I your type?
I'd do it.
Thank you.
I'd do it.
You do it. I asked, am I your type? And you said I do it. It's not funny.
The thing with Drake is he's hard to get a hold of. It is rare he does an interview. He is very, very calculated. Very calculated. Ever since he lost that beef with Pusha T and got called out for having a secret child, he's been very, very careful. Getting an interview with Drake in general is nuts, let alone when you're at Bobbi Althoff's level. Like, unheard of. 2 months ago, no one was talking about her. Now she's got an interview with Drake. Pretty astonishing. And that's where this first big discourse happens. So this Drake interview she did blew up. It's weird. It's awkward. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes there's weird sexual tension. You don't know what to make of it. Sometimes it feels like a weird porno, and sometimes it feels like a really uncomfortable interview that you just want to be over. It is odd.
It's a gift.
From who?
My friend.
What's their name?
Ashley. What's wrong with that? You're
Like-
weirder than I thought you were.
That's a fact for sure. You got no idea, honey.
Honey, are you like a 60-year-old man? Honey? You should stop saying that word.
You never know.
To me, again, it feels like great performance art. It also feels like Drake is in on it being performance art at some points. It feels like he's been intentionally cringe. He's playing the game along with her. And I think as an audience member, it's just so interesting to watch this interaction unfold. You'll gain an insight into how these rich, famous people operate from someone who seems to try and attack them and not be into their shit at all. She doesn't seem to want to talk to Drake about his art or anything really. It's almost like she's just trying to like understand this world. So once she did this Drake interview, there were way more eyes on her, and a lot of these eyes belong to fucking weird Chad dude bros on YouTube that are like, I don't like how successful she is. I don't get her humor. I don't get her content. Therefore, she's an industry plant.
Bobbi Althoff is an industry plant, bro. I'm sorry.
Everything about Bobbi Althoff is she's an industry plant.
I think Drake's the best example. Like, he's become very human, like with the Bobbi Althoff interview and stuff. Like,
you mean that industry plant?
She's 100%.
She has to be an industry plant.
I actually really think so. First guest was Rick Glassman, who's a comedian. Then June 17th, she drops this episode with Funny Marco, and this is the one that went viral all over the place. The next guest she got after Funny Marco, and this was the one that came out July 20th, was Drake. And I was like, what the fuck?
And I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party. Pink felt like I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I pull in a can.
This industry plant discourse we see is always so boring. It feels like, one, it's predominantly always levied at like women from dudes that are like, I don't get how she got famous so quick. I don't like it. And two, it always just reeks of jealousy. I don't know why anyone on the internet who is happy with their own success feels the need to be like, is this person industry plant? This rise to fame is bullshit. And my biggest issue with this industry plant discourse is anyone that gets famous at a certain point goes, right? That's what sort of fame is. And it feels like if people are doing shit and no one knows them, they're fine. But once they finally make it, once they finally do well, everyone's like, oh, it's an industry plant. But it's like, How much time do you need to spend in the dumps of no one watching your content to not be labeled as an industry plant? I get when people have an issue with industry plants if they're basically nepotism babies and they're born into stardom and then a label tries to like pretend they're not and like usher them in as like the girl next door that just happened to make it. Sure. All right, see the issue with Clairo.
A lot of people believe that Clairo is not so self-made and is actually an industry plant, so let's find out if this is true. So Clairo started getting a lot of attention when her webcam music video for her song Pretty Girl went viral on YouTube. She made music from her bedroom, which made it seem like she was an indie artist who became popular all on her own. While her father, Jeff Cottrell, was actually the chief marketing officer of Converse, which owns a recording studio called Rubber Tracks. And the reason I mention this is because with the recording studio, Clairo's father works closely with the founders of the Fader Media Group. And the Fader is the record label that signed Clairo. But in this interview, she made it seem like she didn't have connections to become successful.
But what I don't like about the industry plant discourse is when someone who has actually come from pretty much nothing has a quick meteoric rise to success and everyone tries to discount it and goes, nah, that's bullshit, they've been planted.
As you could tell, growing up her family was pretty dang broke, with their cars always getting repossessed while everyone else had nice cars. And you gotta keep in mind, this is likely Southern California, so there's quite a bit of money out there. But anyways, there were times where she could barely be able to get the yearbook because the $50 price was too much. So let's just say that it wasn't butterflies and rainbows for Bobbi.
I don't really agree with the idea because anyone who is successful in becoming famous at some point gets what they want and gets support from labels or management or whatever and gets propelled into the limelight. That is the sort of fame trajectory, right? It's like by their logic, we could call Justin Bieber an industry plant because, you know, a label manager caught him at a talent show and went, oh, he's got star potential. We want to make him a star. But it's like, Justin Bieber practiced singing his whole life and kept going to talent shows and kept performing until an opportunity was presented. Like, what on earth constitutes an industry plant? I don't see anyone accuse Kanye West of being an industry plant, even though Kanye West worked behind the scenes for ages and then finally scored something with Jay-Z, and then Jay-Z went, all right, we'll put you on your label and we'll release an album for you. That's the same thing, right? They're making a star at a certain point. All right, I went off on a bit of a tangent there about industry plants. Maybe that's a video for another day. But after she released this Drake video, she then pulled it down 5 days later.
They're interviewing him while they were laying in bed together, that absolutely blowing up. But then, earlier this week, people noticed that she had abruptly taken down her podcast with Drake and that the two were not following each other on Instagram.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting and really, really messy, and I kind of feel bad for her, unless she's a PR genius. So we're going to get into some theories now. So the Drake interview has been pulled from her channel. It got 11 million views in like 5 or 6 days, and now it's gone. You can't find it. And people are speculating as to why. And the first big rumor that came out was that they fucked.
All that absolutely igniting the rumor mill. Some thinking that Drake was upset about the TikTok where she looked unamused at his show. And then you had others saying that she and Drake actually ended up sleeping together and that caused issues in her marriage.
This feels weird for a variety of reasons. I can't picture it. I can't picture Drake, someone shrouded in so much red tape, doing that. And I also can't picture her doing it. I'm not buying it. My gut feeling is no. But I have to feel like this is stemming from the fact that it seemed like there was some weird chemistry while they were in Drake's bed. But it's like, this just feels like sensationalist gossip to me. I don't even want to entertain it. But my issue is someone who does want to entertain it is Dave Portnoy.
And while it's the internet and people were already saying things, one of the biggest spreaders of this rumor ended up being Dave Portnoy's BFF's podcast.
Dave Portnoy, I don't know Dave Portnoy from a bar of soap, but he has this thing called the BFF's podcast with a bunch of other people I don't know. And it seems like they just talk about celebrity gossip. Now, he reached out to Bobbi Althoff to address the rumors that she slept with Drake and went, did you remove the video because you slept with Drake? To which she said something along the lines of, I'm not commenting on it publicly yet, but no, that did not happen. Then Dave Portnoy goes on his podcast and basically leaves out the part where she denied it and just went, she said no comment. And then everyone else on the podcast goes like, oh my God, that means she definitely did it. And he basically added fuel to this she slept with Drake fire, because now it feels like there's receipts, there's tangible evidence. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing, Dave Portnoy?
I DM Bobbi. What? You asked her, did you sleep with Drake and are you getting a divorce? Yeah. She's like, I'm not commenting on that publicly.
Wait, so you just outed her? Oh. You just outed her not public comment?
Right, that looks like the smoking gun. Confirmation they slept together. And that getting so big that Bobbi had to fire back saying, hey, I didn't even want to go on the BFF's podcast. And what had actually happened and what was said was the exact opposite of what was alluded to in that viral post. Dave says he heard a rumor about the affair and divorce, but didn't believe it, to which she wrote, I am not commenting publicly, but off the record, you're right, that is not true.
What like a shitty thing to do. The only reason he would do that is for clout, but it's just like so fucking mean. And it's like, you know what? Like having the screenshot of her flat out denying it is gossip enough. Like talk about that. So then Bobbi had to release the screenshot basically showing that she flat out denied it to Dave Portnoy and he's misrepresented her. You know, so then he came back, released a statement, went, oh, I'm sorry, my social media team gave it a bad edit. And it's like, come on, you signed off on this shit and it seems like you did actually give juicy gossip by your friends' reactions. Like, I'm not buying it, mate.
Dave Portnoy also apologizing to Bobbi, trying to set the record straight. Writing on social media, I owe Bobbi an apology. Our social media team edited the clip to make it seem juicy, which is bullshit.
So aside from just the idea that she slept with Drake, so basically, yeah, Bobbi Althoff, ever since removing a highly successful video, everyone's been speculating as to why. That's where the Drake sleeping together rumors came from. And then this TikTok account is suggesting the idea that why it's actually been taken down is that Drake had control over the final edit due to the fact that he's like this big star, sent it to Bobbi Althoff to upload, and left in copyrighted music from his label.
So what Drake did was the ultimate career navigating move. You'll have a leader in corporate America who will invest in you. You will think that this person is your friend. You will think that you can ultimately trust this person. But what you fail to realize is that this person is hidden in your blind spot. That's what Bobbi failed to realize. Do you think for a moment that Drake, who has been in the music industry for well over 10 years, did not know that playing Rack City on her podcast would be considered copyrighted content? Number one, he completely controlled the situation. He got to film the content. He got to edit the video. He sent her the final cut, and he deliberately left that clip in as a way to ultimately control her.
He, along with the label that he's signed to, can now copyright claim or copyright strike her whole interview and basically take any money she makes off that interview directly to their pockets and she gets nothing. So the idea here is that she saw that that had happened and has taken down the interview as a result. If that is the case, now, I haven't seen too much more exploring this idea. If that's the case, that Drake essentially made some big, massive 4D chess move to basically take any profits and money off her video after he's this like massively successful multi-millionaire, it just feels cruel, just feels mean, just feels like bullying. I don't understand it. I hope it's not true. But yeah, watching this video, I was pretty convinced. I'll show you some of it now.
Because the reality is, if you know that you can use something to blackmail somebody at a later date, which is what it appears to have been, leave this in the video, knowing that it's copyright, and now I have total control over you. Because at any moment, I can literally file a claim with Universal Music, or Tyga can file a claim with Universal Music, and we can literally take back all the money that you made. We control you. I'm in charge of your success. This is what happens when you have either narcissistic or psychopathic leaders in corporate America. They want total control over you and total control of your success.
But I was like, fucking hell, like if that's real, that is bad. That is really fucking mean. And then I think the biggest and most exciting theory is the idea that the reason she's pulled it is to just garner speculation. This whole thing she does, everything about it is a game, it's an act, and she's just pulled this massively successful video offline just to start the rumor mill, just so she can sit in it and then she'll re-upload it and then it'll just go through the fucking roof, right? Because it was finally starting to slow down traction rise. So she's taken it down, and then it's this idea that we're all going to sit here and speculate and like build the rumor mill up and go, oh, I want to watch it. How can I watch it? How can I watch it? And then she's going to re-release it and she's just a massive star. And the thing is, if that's intentional, it's working.
I'm going to tell you right now, Bobbi Althoff is a marketing genius. I guarantee you this beef between her and Drake is completely fabricated for PR. And it was so perfectly done. She was at his concert yesterday, then they unfollow one another, and then she removes all the podcasts from her channel. All of this happening right as the podcast was losing steam. 10 out of 10, Bobby.
She's everywhere. Everyone's talking about whether she slept with Drake. You know, she went to a Drake concert and then filmed this video of her being all pouty and annoyed. Like, she's crushing it. If this is all intentional, if this is all a move, if this is, again, all a Nathan Fielder, Nathan For You level, like, social experiment, Andy Kaufman, like, where do the lines of media and real life intercept? You know, how can we tell the difference? If that's what she's doing, she's a fucking genius. This is one of the most interesting celebrity things I think I've seen in quite some time. And I know it's kind of small scale, but she's come out of nowhere. I have no clue what to make of her. I don't know what's serious, what's not. And it's just exciting. Like, did Drake intentionally fuck over her video with copyrighted music to take her money? Is she bullshitting? Are all these people she interviews on board? Is she actually upset with Drake? Did she remove it because of sleeping rumors? Did she sleep with him? And on top of that, has she removed it just to get clout? Because if so, it is such a smart move and it's working and she's everywhere. And I just want more. Like, I want more. I want more Bobbi Althoff. I'm going to watch all her interviews now. Like, I'm fucking psyched. You know, we haven't had interesting celebrity drama for a while. And then Ariana Grande and SpongeBob decide to just fucking explode it. And now we've got this thing. And it's just like, what's next? I hope it's more Bobbi Althoff because I think she's crushing it. I want more interviews from her. And by the way, all these dudes are like, she's an industry plant. I don't like her humor. Fuck that. The moment she starts interviewing like Billie Eilish, Kylie Jenner, Hailey Bieber, like any of these big female girly celebrities instead of like rappers, she is going to fucking demolish. It is over. All right. Like, if you get a Bobbi Althoff and Emma Chamberlain interview, it's done. It's a wrap. All right. She is going to be everywhere. All right. The moment she stops trying to lean into making fucking guys awkward and then their male fan base gets annoyed and starts leaning into cringe humor with like women her age, mate, she's going to be a fucking star. And part of me is hoping that Drake is in on this beef too, because Drake has unfollowed her. She's unfollowed Drake. What excites me is the idea that maybe they're all in on it. Drake made The Weeknd a massive star. He very famously discovered him and like put him on the map. Part of me hopes that like Drake is in on this and is playing into these rumors and is playing into these beefs because he sees star potential with Bobbi Althoff and just wants to explode her. I hope this video ages well. I hope you've learned something. If anyone's watched this that knows anything that I don't, or you want to give your own opinion as to what you think is going on, please do. Like, I just want to talk about it with someone. And I only found this out last night because I couldn't sleep. So I was scrolling through TikTok. I was like, what is going on? And then all morning at the gym, I was like, Bobbi Althoff, Bobbi Althoff, Bobbi Althoff. So please let me know your thoughts. Link me to interesting videos. Like, I'm actually curious and I want to know how it goes. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you want more.